I'm back from a strike from YouTube. Uh, Apologies. Should have uploaded this later in the afternoon. You'll be getting this today or either tomorrow. I don't care which. We are going over the Hell in a Cell 2020 pay-per-view, and I'll make sure that my SmackDown review is up and running. Don't want to make sure you miss out my opinions on that. Either way, let's go over what happened here in a Hell in a Cell. Because out of most of the pay-per-views I've watched currently in the WWE, they weren't going over a gimmicky way to go over the effects of not actually generating a crowd, or any cinematic baby way how to source some semblance of entertainment. It was a legitimate pay-per-view with legitimate stories, with basic stuff that are going to be conclusive or ongoing. The pot and I'll go over the positives immediately by going over the first match. And that's a rarity coming out of me because usually I don't have a lot of stuff to say about the opener. But the only negative is why in the hell wasn't this in the main event? The Roman Reigns faced off against Jey Uso one-on-one in a Hell in a Cell match. I felt like it was the devaluation of a Hell in a Cell match for the rest of the two matches, because those matches didn't need to be Hell in a Cell. You could have made Sasha Banks and Bayley be a street fight. Either way, it was an average match. It was pretty entertaining in some semblance of the way. Bayley and Sasha were not having a negative match. I think the more disinteresting match came from the Randy Orton and Drew McIntyre match out of rating all the Hell in a Cell matches. The number one key emotional, brutal, violent, and told an amazing story. It made Roman Reigns almost feel sympathetic, then dastardly heel. Then you had, I think, those are the Wild Samoans coming out there wearing the little necklaces with Roman Reigns lifting up the Universal title after baiting in Roman Reigns beating the ever living piss out of Jey Uso, about to hit him face first with the steel steps until Jimmy Uso. Then he came around doing a 180, then doing a rear naked guillotine choke, nearly beating the shit out of Jimmy Uso that's already injured, causing Jey Uso to say he quits. That was unbelievable. Personal, high stakes, and probably they're gonna make this continue due to Survivor Series. But over it being also two like conclusive stipulations, like an I Quit match and a Hell in a Cell, I would I would feel like that that's a bit crazy. But either way, it was one of the best opening matches I've probably ever seen in a while in WWE, and it was compelling as all hell. The only bad thing was that I thought this should have been in the main event. There should have been the major selling point, but they're doing this to prioritize the fact that McIntyre, that he looks like a main eventer, means he's always going to be a finalization of a main eventer, even though he looks like a greasy, neckbeardy buff dude that you probably see in the gym. That is also the voice actor of the Blue Power Ranger from freaking RPM. That ain't a racial thing. It's just his character, and I'm saying that in major quotes. Other than that, we had, of course, Otis. I think it was Otis going one-on-one with Miz for the Money in the Bank briefcase. We had a recap over, and they didn't even display the factoid that JBL was bribed. And I'll go over this in my SmackDown review because this did take place on Friday Night SmackDown before the pay-per-view. That JBL was financially bribed. So JBL, John Bradshaw Layfield, a guy that was notoriety in his heel character to be uh Texas, New York tycoon for whatever business he has. His thing is that he was rich and he wanted to be WWE champion. So how in God's name did he get financially bribed by The Miz? Now, I understand The Miz got that USA money. He has his own reality show. He gets the movies, all that shit. But it just makes very little sense that a financial bribe like that should have made JBL laugh, not just make him be like, I'll take it. And freaking Ron Simmons coming over there. You have the APA tag team completely together again. And of course, Ron Simmons, sadly, is only notoriety for saying damn, not that he was the first black world heavyweight champion in the United States. That gotta suck. But yeah, that's practically the entire. That's the rest of the match was basic as you can get. We had some big boots counters. I think we had a cool move by Otis over a spine buster, discus clothesline, and then it went over to the finish of Morrison, nearly about to attack Otis with the Money in the Bank briefcase. Then it ended off him getting called out. Then guess who sabotaged Otis winning the match? Tucker. This took very little build. I understand that Otis been getting more major focus than Tucker, so you could have just subjugated that into segments of why is Otis getting more chances than me, or why wasn't he taking my advice and cashing in on like Braun or Roman when the time was right, or something like that. It made no sense. I felt like this was completely out of nowhere. It made no sense. And the very little build up over the fact the way that no one cares about Tucker to begin with. And it's gonna make no sense either, or else he'll do some like he'll pretend to be something else and forget that they have a brand split. So probably because we're up to November for our next pay per view. That probably they'll just do like a cross brand feud with Otis and Tucker, the Tucky that it says on the shirt. It was a bland finish. Now they have the Miz holding the briefcase again, saying that everybody's in further notice. And as soon as Tucker came out, just with his promo being like, "Who else had all the work to do? Who else sprung up?" Oh, it's like, dude, where did this come from? Over most of the major focus that Otis had in major storylines, you were just there, and then you became a jobber. Sure, it was like, oh, we want to talk about Otis, not you. And it's like, come on. Like, have this have semblance of a build if you want to make a drastic heel turn to just do a 180, even though it looked like Otis was gonna lose the briefcase. So that made it centralized, like completely irrelevant now. And now the Miz is briefcase holder again. I'm not a fan of the Miz, and I feel like the briefcase already overstayed its welcome. And I wish I wouldn't say that for something that's supposed to be annually. In my opinion, I think they should just put it back to WrestleMania, and if they do, like give it like probably 2 years of a break, establish your stars, and don't do any gimmick crap to make them hold a world title. And people already been asking for the Miz to be world champion again over his like umpteenth time being Intercontinental champion and his mediocre to decent promos. Other than that, he's an average top mid carder. I just don't see him in the main event role for a long time because there's already information that he's probably going to be headlining Mania Hollywood, and we don't even know that if there's going to be probably a live crowd for that because COVID and a lot of people are retards. So apologies for being rude, but that's just how it is. Some people are just idiotic when it comes to safety for other people. R-Truth won back the 24/7 championship and nearly said hardcore. That means they had to care. Elias faced off against Jeff Hardy one-on-one. This was sadly a match I missed. And if this was due over from Sheamus and Jeff Hardy's feud over him getting run over by a car. And that's about it. There was a cool performance off Elias involving his on-site performance on Raw. It was a really good performance. Go back and watch it. Then you see Jeff Hardy shooting on guitar, nearly swinging at his head. And then we got this match. There was a whisper in the wings. There seems to be like basic arsenal. Probably Elias did his little bicycle knee, coming around doing neck breakers. Nearly a twist of fate. Elias grabbed the guitar and hit Jeff in the head with it. It ended in DQ, so they're probably going to continue this obvious WWE because they don't know how to make interesting feuds. So Jeff loses over DQ. And it's sad too, because I like Elias. I want him to be put in important feuds. If they're doing a feud with him and Jeff Hardy, that means they're doing something right with him. So at least I'll expect that. Next up, the SmackDown Women's Championship, the only Women's Championship on the line tonight. Elias faced off against Bayley 1-on-1. Sasha against Bayley, sorry, in Hell in a Cell. And the match was basic. I think they recap because I remember last year I saw that same spot involving the kendo sticks like stacked up in a corner, and then made as like an impromptu. Bayley just, I think Uranagi just suplexed Bayley into those kendo sticks. We had a slam onto a ladder, then symbolizing over the chair. Sasha got rid of it. The match was pretty entertaining on the most point, more foreshadowing, basic storytelling, and actual continuity in the match. There was really any no selling, and you had some glimpses of Sasha maybe winning, losing the title. But other than that, it was a basic match. But I feel like it's going to be another short reign because I don't want to actually make a woman feel Sasha feel legit. And we already had freaking Bayley holding the title, and she's been a ratings killer since being women's champion, since her heel persona came up. And it's sad too, because I thought there were some cool spots. The match was fine, but there had no reason to be a Hell in a Cell match, in my opinion. I really didn't. Sure, this was built up for the long term, and this had came up serious personal grudges over being untrustworthy, but it just doesn't have that energy to be in Hell in a Cell match than Triple H and Mick Foley having a Hell in a Cell match, or at least Cena and Orton having a Hell in a Cell match. And it's just not that important. As rough as it is, you, there's a difference between putting men in an elimination chamber match than putting women in an elimination chamber match. I just wish there was more unique stuff to tell them apart to actually have more interesting concepts if you really want to get women in there, if you know what I'm saying. But still, the match was decent. The match was pretty good. Good enough because Bayley has been a ratings killer since becoming women's champion. She has rarely any other character. She seems to be a whiny diehard since even WrestleMania 35. She doesn't seem that captivating in the ring until she's done with an actual worker. And the only reason she's even relevant to even standpoint that she's a good wrestler is all because of Takeover Brooklyn from like 2016 or 15. That's about it. And guess who was actually there carrying her in that match? Sasha. So, yeah, that's my opinion on the matter. Other than that, it was a good match. And that's a lot I could say because there were some brutal spots, especially like a Meteora on her face on the cage. Like, they really wanted to beat the piss out of each other, as they should. It's a Hell in a Cell match. Next up, Slapjack. Great Adventures of Slapjack. Sasha against Bobby Lashley over an immediate promo and interview because Charlie Caruso can't schedule like interviews in a specific place to make it actually look legitimate. This lady's literally having a leg day every time she tries to go for. Oh my God! There's Elias. Charlie Caruso is so annoying. She's seriously annoying. No semblance of her looks professional. Sure, the lady looks attractive and she seems well spoken enough to be on television, but she just doesn't have the professionalism. She comes around walking up to anything and feeling like we need that just one reaction. Like, how's it feel when you took that shit? Get out of my freaking bathroom. That's how it feels. So we had Mustafa Ali laying out a challenge over to MVP, who will be facing off against one part of the Hurt Business, and then Lashley, and then Ish and MVP won up the challenge to put it for the United States Championship. So Bobby Lashley against Slapjack, and no one's supposed to interfere. It was basic as you can get because it was Shane Thorne. Slapjack is Shane Thorne, and it was so boring. We had, of course, a full Nelson submission hold to finish up the match with Retribution coming, and then the rest of her business comes in. It's like it's heel versus heel faction. Who wants to see that? What are they particularly taking over? And they're still fighting because, of course, they need to get paid. But other than that, they shouldn't be benefiting They shouldn't be like having issues with retribution. Like the only thing is that you stay out of our way, we stay out of your way, and then other hijinks infuse when you try to face off against the baby faces. That should make more sense. And you're just not having it. The retribution even look legitimate thanks you keep making them lose. They already lost like a 6-man tag a few weeks prior. They are jobbers. They are astute NXT freaking Evolve main eventing jobbers. They suck. Get them off my TV screen. Mustafa Ali looking like a corner store Tarzan, brown ass Elias, looking upset is not gonna make you a main eventer. The guy looks like he has a decent babyface streak, and then they turn him heel, all because they couldn't make a buck with Mustafa Ali, because your name was Mustafa Ali. I can get anybody else that was in that Cruiserweight Classic, and I can put them there. I can bring back Kota Ibushi, even though he won a G1 climax. So he would obviously be in the... No, he wouldn't. He would be feuding with Drew Gulak for 7 months. So it looks like they're going to continue this Hurt Business and Retribution feud where guess who's going to be taken more legitimately? The Hurt Business. Because they're actually top guys. They actually look like top guys. While Retribution looks like something from that Brink video game. Next up was the main event. The WWE Championship. Randy Orton versus Drew McIntyre one-on-one. And it was absolutely, positively, scrumptiously boring. I mean, sure, we had the basic spots. We had counters. We had, of course, some Claymore kicks. Counters over to a neck breaker. Some hits with the chair. Then everybody just keeps getting out the freaking cage. Jimmy Uso to help his brother. Sasha to Bailey to get her steel chair, even though she can just get one from under the ring. And Orton just got on top of the cage. They sparl for a bit until Orton snuck in a red pipe on top of the Hell in the Cell cage, striking McIntyre with it. Then they started trying to climb down the steel chair until Orton took out McIntyre to hit him on the steel chair, on the commentary table when they were climbing down the cell. Then he was so brutalized, his mouth was bloodied up. Until there was a comeback, and as soon as he missed over the Claymore kick, he got automatically RKO'd. Orton wins the WWE Championship. Oh yeah, I forgot there was an elevated DDT. And his backbreaker. No punt. We had 2 good Hell in a Cell matches. This one was the most disinteresting, even though it was also decent. It should have been just a regular match. Or at least a street fight. Or a steel cage if you still wanted to put some, like, any semblance of violence on it. Like, I'm just not feeling it. Like, I feel like they should scrap the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view. You can still make Hell in a Cell matches, fine, but make it only once. Make it only once and make it tell a story. Make it like monthful. Like 2000, we only had like 2 Hell in a Cell matches. One was a 6-man. One was Mick Foley and Triple H, and that took a while for build. Like, jeez, McIntyre and Orton should have been just a regular steel cage match, or you could have just made it a street fight. Same thing with the Sasha Banks and Bayley match. But they were still decent enough to be watchable. And I can say about this that the show was watchable. I'll give it a 6 out of 10 for a majority of my rating. Other than that, I thought this was an average pay-per-view. This was a pretty decent pay-per-view over from Extreme Rules, Money in the Bank. Uh, Elimination Chamber was trash to me. WrestleMania was super duper trash. SummerSlam, Payback, and Clash of Champions were watchable at best. So I can say that these were decent pay-per-views. Uh, I feel like they're just evaluating their gimmick matches to give some selling point, even though like they're unimportant. Make cool pay-per-view names. Don't make them over a dumb stipulation. You think Fatal 4? Why you think Fatal 4 was only once? Like, stop. Bring back Unforgiven. Bring back No Mercy. I mean, they already when's the last time you saw that? Like probably 2017. Bring back No Way Out. Bring back cool pay-per-view names and make the concept or theme of the storyline be the semblance of the pay-per-view. That's why people don't care about your pay-per-views, WWE. Because one time you called it Stomping Ground. Great Balls of Fire. It's not cool. It's not gonna get kids to watch. It doesn't feel edgy. It doesn't feel like somebody that can get, remember. Hey, remember when we watched Great Balls of Fire? That sounds like a movie somebody watched back in the 70s. But other than that, this was a watchable pay per view. Watchable pay per view. Really great matches. I am so enticed to see SmackDown and how this thing is gonna go through. At least enough with Raw that I think the only captivating thing is Orton is WWE champion. Now I don't know if to continue the McIntyre and Orton feud and Miz's Money in the Bank, the Elias and Hardy feud. That's technically it that I'm gonna see on Raw. I don't care about Retribution. Uh, but other than that, average pay per view. If you guys enjoyed it, hopefully you guys did. Comment down in the comment section. Tell me your initial reaction or your thoughts. Other than that, try to like, comment, and subscribe. Help me get up to 30, because I know YouTube damn sure doesn't want me to.